Hello, everyone, and welcome to Believe in Sabres. I'm Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. My co-host Adam Benini is off today, so we have brought in a special guest. You know him from his years and years of analyst on hockey broadcasts everywhere, currently with TNT. Please welcome Darren Pang. Panger, I'm going to call you Panger. Even though we haven't met face-to-face, you're Panger to me, buddy. Thanks for being here.
That's good, Sal. I'm glad to be with you. I've really enjoyed coming back to Buffalo in these circumstances. And, many years ago, whether it was Steve Levy or Dave Strader, the late Dave Strader, or we covered a lot of the Eastern Conference, and it's been too long, to be honest with you. So, this is just on a personal note for 13 or 14 years coming into town and then seeing maybe the passion for the team and the, wane a little bit. It was kind of sad for me. So when the Buffalo Sabres turned it on, midway through this year, and I knew that they'd be a playoff team, it'd be like, I hope I get there again. Hope I can relive my Chippewa Day streets, even though I'm a lot older than I used to be. So really great to be back here. In the atmosphere last night and in the first round against Boston was obviously really good. I think the one thing that was kind of a downer is, I'll go to where the negative part is. When the Sabres weren't a good team, the fans still came here. You still went to the rink. I did a national game, or if I came and did a local game with a team, the fans were still there. They were still hopeful. They were still energetic. And then the part when the fans started not coming, and you were coming to a 3/4 filled building, and it was, for me, covering the Sabres for so long and going through the Pekka and the Hasek era and that just how the players were just a part of everything Buffalo. And they had so much pride being Buffalo Sabres. And then to see that go away was depressing for me. And I tried to explain to people, I'm like, no, this isn't the way it is here. This is not the way the fans of Buffalo is. This is not the way the energy is in the rink, which was lacking. And then now this is exactly what I thought it was going to be, because number one, I go back to the Winter Classic of 2008, and that was between the benches for NBC. We left the Hyatt Regency in the morning. It was kind of raining and drizzly, and then it got cold and snowy, and we're driving there, and we're thinking, this is going to be a bust. Like there's no way fans are going to come to this, And so for those wondering where I'm going on this, it's like, this is Buffalo. When I got to that game, that outdoor Winter Classic, the first one in the United States, I was just stunned. No shirts, guzzling beers, parties all over the parking lot. Weather is brutal, and they stayed the whole time with no shirts on. I'm like, that's Buffalo. That's the energy that Buffalo has. So when I saw the Blade Gang, when I see everybody outside, I was after game one, I'm over there at Cobblestone Cigar Bar. I met Joe playing golf a little bit ago at Brookfield Country Club, and now I'm there last night, and it felt like 1999, 2000. It was like this is what it's like here in Buffalo. The fans they're different. They'll do different things to back up their team, and that's what makes it so much fun to come here to Buffalo. And boy, I like this a lot more than I like coming to a half-empty rink with fans with bags over their head, because it was always disappointing for me, because I've seen it at its very, very best, and now I think we're back to that area again. So good for everybody.
So that's my home office over there, Panger, the football stadium. That's where I make my living. So it was awesome that day. I mean, I see that 8 or 9 times a year, but that outdoor classic, it set the stage for what has become one of the NHL's premier events.
Yep, you're exactly right. But if we didn't, I was with the executive Sam Flood. We were all going. I think Eddie Olczyk, myself, and Doc, and we're like, what are we gonna do, Sam? And he's like, this is worrisome. Like it's raining out. Like what are we going to do? And you're right. And it turned out to be, for me, the greatest event, because it was their first one. It was obviously Sidney Crosby makes a number of incredible plays, but I remember going on the ice, because I talked them into me wearing skates between the benches. So I'd go on the ice and I'd give up reports on where the ice conditions were. And Dan Craig with the NHL I think I was driving him nuts a little bit, giving him these reports, and I'd have some snowballs, and I'd throw them at Edzo in the booth with Doc, and I'd be like this is really unbelievable. When they say, well, what was it like being a kid playing outdoor hockey? Well, I didn't really play on a pond. I didn't play river hockey. I didn't play pond hockey. I played on an outdoor rink that looked like that was frozen. And that's what we did. And you shoveled every 15 minutes because the snow was coming down. And that's why that was such a great a great event for everybody, because it did bring you back to playing outdoor hockey and the snow coming down, and the fans. I still can't believe their energy, their passion, their craziness. I don't know, football mentality. It was awesome, just awesome. One of my great memories.
I mean, I'm not over there for this playoff run, at least not yet. I covered them back in I covered the Bills, Panger. Done it for almost 4 decades now. But when the Sabres were good, I would usually get over to the playoff games, but I'm not there yet. We'll see if they win this round. But you're right. It's a great place to be when the Sabres are rolling. And really, when the Sabres are good, Darren Panger, I should say, when the Sabres are good, the NHL is just a better place, right? It really is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's kind of the heartbeat, it's a city that's always so proud, so passionate, so devoted, so loyal. And they just want, they just want hard work. They just want the guys to empty the tank every single night. And what they have now is a team that we thought that they would probably have 3-4 years ago. And I think that's the frustration, is that you had all these picks, you have all these players, then you end up developing some players, then you end up trading some players. They go on other places and have success and win championships. And you probably wonder as a fan base, what's happening right here. So a lot of really, really good moves have been made. Even prior to Jarmo taking over, obviously, I mean, Kevin made some real good moves. It's gonna show for years and years to years who made the transactions. And then, I think Jarmo brings a real spirit. I know Mark Bergevin's his assistant, and he's an old teammate of mine in Chicago, and he's got life to him. And I think that as a group, now I think there's just not a refound, but there's been a kind of a little bit, just a little bit more spirit. I think all the way around, from the coaching staff all the way to the managers, and then I think that the players have taken ownership of that. Sal, there's got to be a point where players go, hey, listen, doesn't matter who's coaching us. If we don't turn this thing around, and if we don't even start maybe spitting out our own positive energy, we're tired of getting maybe the negative, and our play is showing that. And let's get some positive into it. And I think that's a big difference with this team. The team takes ownership of it. The coaches see that they might need a little pat on the back, a little bit more than the negativity. And look what you have right now. I mean, you've got a really well-rounded hockey team in every aspect. I don't see very many weaknesses on this Buffalo Sabres team.
It's funny you mentioned Kevin Adams, and ultimately, Panger, it's going to go down as Kevin Adams didn't get the job done. I mean, on his watch, the Sabres continued that awful playoff drought. But you're right. Now you take a step back. I mean, Kekalainen came in and took over the operation, and it just by coincidence they happened to start playing great right around the time that Adams got fired. But this is Kevin Adams's team. I mean, he put these guys in place. He brought Lindy Ruff back to coach the team. And I think people, once we get away from the Kevin Adams era, are going to look back and say, well, maybe he wasn't so bad after all, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the actual, the numbers will bear fruit on that. The players, the transactions will do that. And nothing more like glowing than the Doan deal. I mean, yeah. I've known Josh for a long time. Obviously, 4 years I was a broadcaster in Arizona when Wayne Gretzky was the coach and Shane Doan, was the captain. And you just know that certain characteristics of a player take after their dad too. Like he's got a lot of that in him. And so I knew when that trade was made, I was really curious as to why Utah would make that trade, because Kesselring's a good defenseman, but I just thought the upside of Josh was going to be exactly what the Buffalo Sabres needed, a guy that will play the game the way you're supposed to play the game and not cheat the game. I mean, his fundamentals are outstanding. He knows when to get the red line to dump the puck in. He knows when to manage the puck. He's just a smart hockey player. Knows when to get in and be tenacious. Maybe take a chance every once in a while. Get in on the forecheck. And so anyway, that to me, when I look at that line with Zack Benson, another good draft pick. I mean, teams that passed on Zack Benson are probably looking at who they picked and went, how did we not pick Zack Benson? Because we thought he was too small? Like, what are we thinking about? Like, the guy's as competitive as all get up, and he's a pain in the neck, as he's told me. He said, I've been a pain in the ass my whole career. I'm not going to stop now. And I just love watching the guy play. And and then you got the Tuck and Krebs deal, obviously, from the, as part of the Eichel deal. But all the way around, I'm really a fun team to watch from the fourth line. And I was really happy last night too, Sal, that, Malenstein's played really, really well. He goes hard, he forechecks, he hits everybody. Kozak, there's a great late pick for the Buffalo Sabres. And then Greenway's been quiet for me. He's quiet in the Boston series. I actually asked Lindy about him a little bit, and he said, but even when he's quiet at even strength, he's still a really, really good penalty killer. And our penalty kill's been good. And so somebody had asked him, would you make a change on that fourth line to get a little jump? And he said, we based it on that. Well, now you start game one against Montreal, and Jordan might have played his best game I've seen him in a lot of years. And
really
then they need that. They need that swagger from Jordan Greenway, and not just going by the benches and saying something to the other team or bumping every once in a while. I mean, be impactful. Every single shift out there, be a difference maker. And so it was good to see from Jordan. I thought he played a heck of a game last night.
Panger, so much in there that I'd like to get to. First of all, I got to say, I believe right now the best line they have going is the Doan, Benson, Norris line. I mean, those guys have been going in both ends. Well, really all three zones. Those guys have been really good. And then it pays off huge last night with, Benson getting 2 beautiful assists to get that game going for the Sabres. That line, to me, I mean, let's face it, Tuck and Thompson, they've played okay, but that big line really hasn't been going yet in these, outside of game one in Boston. That line really hasn't done a whole lot. It's been the third line, which really should be their second line. I think the Benson line, that's been the one that's been driving the Sabres right now. Would you agree with that? I
don't think there's any doubt about that. And when Noah Ostlund was in, they didn't miss a beat. He's just such a cerebrally smart hockey player on all sides of it. And before the game that he came in for Josh Norris, I can't remember which game it was against Boston, but I asked Mark Bergevin about him, and he just like basically stopped me in my tracks and gave me about 10 things about him. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand why he was a fairly early first round draft pick. And so then Norris has, got a different style to his game, but he's obviously a very, very, very good center. And so you're right. Benson's plays last night, really, I mean, just smart. He at one point, he kind of looked like he was going to shoot the puck as a lefty, and he looks, and he looks, and then he just turns that hand over. It's almost old school passing, Yeah. I mean, I'm not comparing him to like a Wayne Gretzky or whatever, but back in my day, that the guys did that all the time. Look one way, and then fire it the other way, and make sure the goalie bites. They get him to just bite a little bit, and that's exactly what happened. And this Lucas Dostal he's a heck of a goalie, but he will sometimes he'll sometimes come out a little bit heavy, a little bit aggressive. And when he does that, that's when you get him to bite. That's when you got to go backdoor. And so they ended up scoring 2-3 goals that way on a backdoor play. So if they looked at the video and that's what Zack Benson saw in the video clips, well, good for him, because he did it perfectly last night, especially the first 2 goals.
Sabres fans have spent, about 15 years hating Brad Marchand from his days with the Bruins and the Panthers. They have their very own Brad Marchand. What you say with Benson, that's who he is.
I think he doesn't mind that compliment either. I think he's not afraid to stir it up, and he's not afraid to stand in the mud and go face to face with anybody. But I think he's also smart enough not to react. And that's what all the great instigators or guys like that do. They'll get there, they'll say a few things, they put their arms to their side, and they just hope the other team pops them in the face and gets a call. It's the old classic, you want to get in and stir it up, but then you want to get out and not take a minor penalty. It's classic. But at the end of the day, he's talented. Like he just makes good plays. His passing's very, very good. His instincts are excellent. I don't see him shoot the puck a whole lot from distance, because I think he's better the closer he gets to it, and the more the heat's on him, the more there's more pressure on him, the calmer his hands are. So that's impressive. And I do enjoy being between the benches and watching him with that you know what I mean, eating grin
Oh
of
yeah.
a, as he goes by the other team's bench. And yeah, he's going to drive Montreal crazy for sure.
The fourth line last night for Buffalo, you touched on it with Greenway, Kozak. Those guys were really on it last night. Lindy's got a tough decision to make, Panger, coming up here because Sam Carrick is
Mm-hmm.
practicing and they think he's going to be able to get back in time to play in this series. I mean, they need him so much in the faceoff circle because they were terrible again last night. But what do you do if you're Lindy? You've got that fourth line going. With Malenstein has been terrific, and then Greenway and Kozak. What do you do? Who do you take out of there?
Well, number one, getting a right-hand shot in Sam Carrick's important too. I mean, he's a heavy player. Obviously, he's a highly intelligent, like, fourth line player, penalty killer. I think what you do is you just put him right back in his spot. And Kozak, who's experienced a great deal right now, he'd be the odd man that slides out. I think that's just the natural thing to do. And if anything happens, if anything, injuries happen because Austin's not there yet. If something would happen in Norris, then you can keep Kozak in there and slide him up a little bit. So they did that a little bit when Austin got injured in that game. Kozak stepped in there, and sometimes they needed Krebs, so he kind of stepped down on the fourth line because he can, obviously, he's a center as well. He's a very versatile player. So I think there's a lot of options there. But for me, just the natural thing is that Kozak would come out and Carrick would go in. Kozak's learned a lot here. Like, yeah,
he has.
This
watched
is probably
him.
unexpected, that he's getting this much time and been so effective. I mean, you can't gain experience without having a little experience, and he's getting it now. So good for him.
I watched him play in Rochester. I've covered the Amherst a little bit, mostly when late in the season Bills are done and they go to the playoffs. And I would say 2 years ago, so I was on WGR radio. Somebody asked me, who are we looking at that we're not paying attention to in Rochester who could help? I said, watch Tyson Kozak. This kid is going to come up someday and be a nuisance, a third, fourth line guy. That's exactly what he's done. So I feel like I got that one right because he did all of that in the American League.
Sal, you're a scout
for
now.
A couple of years. Huh?
See that? You're a scout now. You see?
For a football guy, right? I'm a scout. Yeah, I know. Well, I've covered enough hockey to know.
Exactly. You saw something in him, and you obviously the guys that are in the American Hockey League that are, let's say, they're top six guys there. The odds of them being top six guys in the NHL, it gets slimmer and slimmer because you're trying to beat out Tage Thompson and Tuck, and then McLeod and Quinn and Zucker, and you got to wait your time. But in the meantime, how can you be relevant and play in the NHL? What are you going to do that's special? Are you going to win faceoffs? Are you going to be on the second penalty kill unit? Probably not going to be on the first or second power play unit. So you have to find your way. So good for Tyson for doing that and finding his way. And good for you being an ace scout. I hope they put you on that payroll anytime soon.
Yeah, I wish. So I got to go. You're a goalie, so I got to go there next. 2 questions on this. First, let's start with Alex Lyon. Comes in, at the end of game 2 there in Boston, and played fine. Lindy makes the move for the rest of the series, and he plays terrific. 33 years old. He's sort of been a journeyman, although he did get some great time with the Panthers during their playoff run. Tell me, did you see Alex Lyon being this player for the Buffalo Sabres this season at any point? Or is it a surprise?
Well, not a surprise because he's done it everywhere he's gone. And for some reason, he ends up being, a kind of a forgotten asset for many organizations. And, in Florida, without him, they don't get to the final that year. I mean, he got them in. He got them in when the pressure was on and Bobrovsky struggled. He got them, in that first round against the Boston Bruins. He got them as far as he could get them until they felt like, okay, Bob's ready to go back in, and Bob ended up being a major factor. But you need 2 guys, and sometimes you need 3 guys. And I think the Sabres right now have 3. They've got 3 NHL goaltenders, and with Colton Ellis being the 3rd guy. So I'll go forward again on it. And then he ends up in Detroit and played many, many, many really good games with the Detroit Red Wings. And again, with Detroit not making the playoffs, you just kind of push guys along and hope that you get a spark from somebody else. But at the end, his fundamentals are really, really good. His demeanor on, like, when the pressure's on is calm. He doesn't get antsy. He doesn't get, like sliding all over the place. I think last night I said it a couple of times. I said he's got good control of his net. It's a term that Marty Brodeur would tell me all the time. Is he control of his crease? Is he control of his posts? Is he outside the post? Is he sliding out? Is he losing his net? And I've watched an awful lot of Alex Lyon, and I haven't seen him lose his net very often. So those are the things that impresses me a lot about him. And then the other thing is, I think teams, and I think Boston was guilty of this, they missed the net a lot up high. I think everybody assumes that he's a really small guy because he's got a low crouch. He kind of, he gets in a good athletic position, but he kind of gives you a 5-hole. Like his legs are really wide like that. So guys try to fire it between the legs, but because he's only 6'1", it's just a smaller area for him to go down, and the 5-hole becomes really, really small. And so it's not as big of a target as the shooters think it is, but they get lured in there. And as soon as they do, he goes down and it hits him right in the Sabres crest, So there's a lot obviously that I like about the way he plays. And now he's probably as confident as he's ever been, maybe the most confidence he ever has. So the number one thing for him is likely just maintaining that even keeledness, no matter what happens, stay with his program and don't get away from the way that he plays the game. So it's very good. I know Boston fans talked an awful lot about the way he spoke, because Andrew Raycroft, a former goaltender, is a friend of mine, and I was in Boston. I'm like, man, you sure stirred it up talking about Alex Lyon. He's like, well, I'm just talking that he talks a lot. I'm like, man, we all talk a lot as goaltenders, but anyway, over the years, I've really gotten to admire Alex. I think I may admire guys that have paid their dues more than the other guys, because it's a tough position. You're always, under the criticism, under the magnifying glass. And I think he's got enough confidence to go through that. He's proven that through his NHL career.
And the second question I want to ask you, obviously on the other side, Dobeš, do you think the Sabres have a goaltending advantage? Because that kid played really well against Tampa last night. Obviously, was not one of his better nights. But what are you seeing in Dobeš, and do the Sabres have the advantage or no? In goal?
I would say the Sabres have the advantage, but on an individual analysis, I really like this. I really like Dobeš. I like a lot about him. I like. Last night we didn't see that he handled the puck as well as he did, and that's just a credit to Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres. I asked Lindy before the game, he's a good puck handler. Where are you going to put it? And he knows that if you put it right to the goaltender, make it easy for him, it's an easy breakout for Montreal. You don't get a forecheck. If you're the fourth line and you want Malmstein to get in there on the forecheck, well, you can't put it to the goaltender because that's puck placement. Where are you going to hit? Who are you going to hit? You can't hit the goalie. And so I thought they were really smart about where they placed the puck and how they got that in. And a lot of times too, I think they caught a tired team. Montreal will be a lot better holding the lines and not allowing so many rush chances. So I think game 2, you'll see Buffalo dump it in a little bit more because there won't be that much room in the neutral zone. And if that's the case, you got to keep it away from him. But Dobeš, if there's one thing that he's maybe guilty of, and a lot of young goaltenders are, I think he tends to over-challenge. He made a few saves last night where he came out, he cut down the angle, and I think Jack Quinn came out, maybe hit him right in the pads. I think if you're a shooter, you got to kind of fake the shot, maybe go wide and see if he knows where his net is, because he's really aggressive, but I really like him. He's a battler. He's competitive. He's big, and that's the advantage that he has. And I thought last night he didn't go away. It's one of those games where he could have let that slip, but I thought he still kept making some good saves late to keep the score where the score was, instead of letting that score get to 5, 6, or 7. And then everybody questions, oh my goodness, what's Montreal going to do with their goaltenders? So I give him a lot of credit for hanging in there in that hockey game. And I'm sure that he'll be a better goaltender in game 2.
All right. Last thing we'll cover here, Panger. Last night, I didn't think either team was particularly on its game, right? I think both sides would say that they need to play a little bit better. It just turned out that Buffalo scored 4 times and won the game. So looking forward to game 2 now. I would expect, and you're going to tell me because you know more than I do, but I'm going to expect this to become a little bit more open offensively. I think both teams, we know both teams can skate like crazy. I think they were both a little bit tentative last night. Do you expect game 2 and then maybe the rest of the series to become a little more freewheeling, or am I wrong about that?
I'm not quite sure yet. I think we're still in the dipping our toes in the water phase. Mm-hmm. I like game 1s, but I don't like game 1s. Because game 1s as an analyst, you come in and they don't hate each other yet. All Montreal saw in their sleep were Tampa Bay Lightning. They saw Gensel and they saw Kucherov and they saw Vasilevsky and Radish, and it's like, so that they were married to that series, 7-game series. It barely left a 1-goal lead on either side. So now you get into game 1, it's like, okay, who do I hate here? Like, who do I really despise? What are my matchups going to be? Who am I going to be going up against every single time? And at the end of the series, not really like that guy. So game one to me was just kind of one of those. Sometimes some parts of the game didn't look like a playoff game, but you can be sure that Montreal. I mean, if the Buffalo Sabres don't expect Montreal to be a better team, then they're going to lose game two. You have to expect that Montreal is going to go make all kinds of adjustments, maybe put that fourth line back, because it was really good against, I'm going to get my notes here, but it was really good against Tampa Bay. It was the Bolduc, Doc, and Texier line. And I was surprised that they broke that up with how good they were, against Tampa Bay. So, maybe you expect that line goes back together, and then maybe they nullify a little bit of the Greenway line, and you get a little bit of matchup there, So I thought that, I didn't think, I'm like you, I didn't think that Tage Thompson, that's not the way he plays. He was mishandling pucks. He was in a hurry to do things from ice level. This is from ice level. He seemed like he was in a hurry to do things that weren't there, wasn't quite patient, wanted something to happen every single shift. And sometimes when it doesn't happen, the bottom line is don't lose your patience. Don't lose the shift. You don't have to win every shift. Manage the shift, and you'll get your chances. And I didn't think he was real patient last night, and I saw that frustration as he was going to the bench several times. And when you're a leader on a team, and one of the best players or the best player on a team, the other team sees that as well. So you got to make sure that the other team doesn't know you're frustrated. And there's a certain calmness that you have to have when you go to that bench. And I thought last night he lost that composure a little bit. So I would have to say that he'll look at it and he'll be a better player too. So those are the players that I think, for me, the top line on Buffalo is going to be better. And I'm not sure if the top line on Montreal, they've played a lot of good hockey, but I think they're going to need a little bit more. And if they add that fourth line, then that might be the jam that they need. But all in all, I think it's an advantage to Buffalo. I think Buffalo is strong in every single area.
It's surprising how that top line for Montreal. I mean, they've got nothing at 5-on-5 in 8 playoff games now. And Lindy pointed it out last night that they did give them a little bit too much time and space in that particular game. Montreal didn't take advantage of it. I can't imagine that's going to continue to go on much longer.
No, you are right. And 5-on-5 hockey, it's hard. It's hard to generate. I thought Caulfield early had some good looks. Remember, he went down the right side. He had a slap shot that Alex Lyon, that was labeled over the blocker. He made a really good save. He had another one-timer. So I thought he was starting to sniff it a little bit. And it's like, that's not the guy that you want giving up chances. You can give up chances to, let me go through the list. You can give up chances to a Texier or whatever, an Anderson maybe, or a Jake Evans, and they've got their roles, but not that guy there. So, and the other thing too is they stayed in Tampa Bay. Montreal did after the win, highly emotional win. Young players that haven't been in this spot packed their bags for the next trip, stayed there, came here, didn't practice yesterday. They went to the rink. They had a quick meeting. I'm sure they went over neutral zone, just little things. Here's what Buffalo does. Here's what they do in the neutral zone. Here's what they do when they're in the offensive zone. Here's where their D will join the attack. Okay, let's get your brain going. This is the Buffalo Sabres we're playing and not the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everybody ready? And then they left. There's a few guys skating. And so maybe they add Gallagher, to this, and maybe they go back to that fourth line. But I think if anything, Marty St. Louis will have their team just energized. They're going to skate on the off day at 1:30, and then we'll see what they come up with for game 2.
All right, Panger, I really appreciate you jumping in here today on a busy time for you. We love it. Love your analysis. I've been watching you for a long time, so I want to thank you again for joining me today.
Sal, it's my pleasure. Keep up the great work, and if I ever get in management, I'll have you scouting my American League teams.
All right. Well, I'm getting too old for that, Peg. You and I are about the same age. I think I'm starting to phase out the real work of my life.
Yeah,
all right, folks, that will be it. That'll be it for Believe in Sabres, presented by FanDuel. I'm Sal Maiorana. Once again, thank you very much to the Panger, Darren Pang, for joining me today. Sabres and Canadiens game 2 will be Friday night at KeyBank Center, and it should be a lot of fun. Until then, take care. Have a great day, everyone.